Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening, the kings and queens of the land. Good evening. Good evening to the liberated zone of KZN. Good evening. Good evening to the liberated zone of Burkina Faso under the leadership of Captain President Ibrahim Traore. Good evening to President Abdullah Amar Tian of Niger. Good evening. Good evening to President Asim Goita. Asim Goita of Mali and President Tiani of Niger. Good evening. Good evening to President Zuma of South Africa. Good evening. The Lion of the South. Good evening. My name is Ngoni Mkonto, and this is the Royal Opinion. Click the like button and subscribe. Thank you very much for joining our live stream. There was a political party called Let's Record History. I actually wrote them down so that I don't forget these political parties. There was a political party called Blackfest, led by Andile Mkitama. It was deregistered to join MK Party. There was a political party called TTA, led in Pretoria, led by Abel Tau. It was deregistered to join MK Party. Let the history be recorded that these parties once existed. There was a political party called ACT, led by Isma Khashule. Their membership, all of them decided to go to the MK Party. There was a political party led by a brave woman, Colin Makubela. The political party was deregistered and its membership taken under MK Party. There was a political party called TDC, led by Visvan Reddy. It was deregistered. Its membership went to the Umkhonto Wesizwe Party. There was a political party called Shiluba, led by Bongani Barui. It was deregistered. Its membership taken to the MK Party. Advocate Bosisiwe Mkhwebane was once a member of the EFF and they resigned. The MK Party, a powerful black political party which will liberate the rest of Africa. The MK party is here to take over South Africa, and nobody will stop them. MK party will not be stopped from taking over South Africa. I want to share this interview because today there was a briefing by the MK party about what the MK party would do if it was the one which was leading the country. There was a celebration. Let me first, before I start sharing that one, there was a celebration of the GNU by the ANC. Pathetic because the members of the GNU, the people who are celebrating to be together, were not together during the celebration. It was only the ANC which was celebrating alone, saying it's celebrating its union with the Democratic Alliance. And then Panyaza Sophie as well was actually criticizing the Democratic Alliance in the celebration. They are celebrating their union and the success of their union, but on the other hand, insulting and criticizing the other members, the other people. Paul Mashatile did not attend the celebrations. Gwede Matashe did not attend the celebrations, the GNU celebrations. So these celebrations have prompted the official opposition party, which is the MK party, to come out and respond to what the GNU have said about 100 days in office. Let me share what the MK party said it would have done in 100 days.
Parliament still does not have a total cost breakdown beyond the estimated cost of 12 to 20 million rand. South Africa is very fortunate to have an organization like the MK Party, which has single-handedly broken the stereotype that the ineffective ANC had in this country. The emergence of the MK Party and the leadership of His Excellency President Jacob Zuma has ensured that the administration of the Crown, it has ensured that the administrators of the Crown to no longer have a free reign in the country. However, we call on South Africa to be vigilant against the proxy of the Crown, which is the DA and her collaborators. And this should not hoodwink the already malleable ANC of Ramaphosa. Let me make this up. Technology was never meant for old people. I apologize for that. Sorry, I've already read that. To add insult to injury, we have seen how this government protects its own while the people suffer. The recent decision by the NPA, that is the National Prosecuting Authority, not to prosecute the president over the Phala scandal is a clear example of how justice in this country is reserved for the powerful. Millions of rands were found hidden on the president's farm, yet he walks free without facing any consequences. This is a slap in the face of every South African who demands accountability and fairness. If this government truly cared about transparency and justice, they would ensure that no one, not even the president, is above the law. But instead, we see them closing ranks, protecting each other, and letting corruption thrive while the people continue to struggle. The MK party has been deliberate and systemic in its attempt to salvage South Africa from the rod of the DA-led coalition. Our approach is informed by our people's mandate and is encapsulated in our manifesto, which has 8 pillars. All our efforts as the MK party are rooted in those 8 pillars. The Umkhonto weSizwe Party stands firmly in solidarity with the working class, the downtrodden people, and all South African and Black in particular. The ANC, which should now be referred to as a former liberation movement, with its so-called Government of National Unity, which is DA-led coalition, as informed by the right-wing forces, as led by and dismantling of public services crucial to our people's well-being. The DA-led coalition under Ramaphosa has perpetuated the indignity of South Africans by preserving a constitutional framework that serves the elite rather than the people of this country. The Constitution, hailed as progressive, has in fact become an obstacle to land reform and the transformation of the restoration of dignity, I beg your pardon. It protects the property rights of those who historically stole the land and ensures the continued marginalization of the majority. Under the MK party, we would scrap the constitutional supremacy in favor of that which prioritizes the dignity and sovereignty of the people. We believe that only returning to parliamentary sovereignty can we enact laws that truly reflect the will of the people and restore their dignity through land reform and the empowerment of traditional leadership. This is what a revolutionary government delivers in 100 days. Indeed, the current constitution stands in a way of reclaiming our land and mineral resources. The DA-led coalition has used constitutional protections and the ANC ambivalence to delay land expropriation and the nationalization of mineral resources, allowing white monopoly capital and foreign corporations to continue plundering our people, our wealth. The MK party would move swiftly to repeal this constitution, which safeguards the interest of the elite and restore parliamentary sovereignty, which allows elected representatives to act in the best interest of the people. Through this, we would ensure that land and resources are transferred back into the hands of the people, using the wealth of our country to benefit all South Africans, not just a privileged few. This is what a revolutionary government delivers in 100 days. Under the guise of constitutional sovereignty, the DA-led coalition has stripped the people of their power, governing through an elite judicial system rather than the will of the people. Instead, the ANC's obsession with so-called constitutionalism, it has alienated the masses from the decision-making processes. MK would return to parliamentary sovereignty, placing power back in the hands of the people's elected representatives. We would ensure that the decisions regarding the future of South Africa, especially those concerning economic transformation, and land reform are made by the people, for the people, without an interference from the elite neoliberal constitution that protects the interests of the few. This is what.
I need to explain what it means by what they mean when they say parliamentary sovereignty. I need to explain what that does that mean. He says, Judge Lopez says, the MK party would restore parliamentary sovereignty, meaning the parliamentary supremacy. Parliamentary supremacy at the moment is already in his speech, is already mentioned 3 times that the MK party would scrap the constitution. In his speech already now, he's mentioned that the MK party would scrap the constitution in favor of parliamentary sovereignty. Parliamentary sovereignty only means that the parliament, the decisions of parliament cannot be adjudicated in court. All the decisions that are made by parliament are the ones that are going to be implemented in the country. And that is merely because first, it was the system that apartheid was using before 1994. This is the system they were using before 1994. Parliament was superior. And it makes sense that Parliament is superior because Parliament represent the people, it represents the community. So people are elected by people, by their communities to go and represent them in parliament. So uh, when they make decisions on behalf of the people who voted for them. So when you take those decisions to court to overturn the decision of the people, of the decisions of the majority by just 11 judges, it does not make sense. That is why they say they would restore parliamentary sovereignty or parliamentary supremacy, because it does not make sense that white people during 1994, during the transition, they decided to take, instead of parliamentary sovereignty, they decided to take constitutional supremacy. Constitutional supremacy means even the minority would take the majority to court to adjudicate the issues that they couldn't succeed when they were adjudicating in parliament. So the issues that are discussed in parliament are not supposed to be taken to court, because these three arms of state must be independent of each other. There mustn't be any one of them who interferes with each one's job. All of them must be independent to each other. So that's why the MK party says it would scrap the constitution and allow parliamentary sovereignty. So I just wanted to explain what it means by parliamentary supremacy, and I want to continue to share. At the moment, we are under constitutional supremacy. That is why the DA is able to go to court, uh, even overturn the decisions of the majority in court. So the minority ruling over the majority through the courts. So if we use parliamentary supremacy, we will avoid the issue of minority ruling over the majority through the constitution. There has never been any, in the MK party, there are no elections. People are nominated into leadership. There has never been any institution, and there will never be any institution which will be able to grow and sustain its growth if you have to change the leader every 5 years. Even families, if you had to change a mother, or you have to get the children to vote if they still want the father after 5 years, you wouldn't have stable families. So there's no institution that will survive by voting every 5 years. Voting should be used for issues, not for leadership. Leadership should be selected. Voting should be about ideological issues. When we are discussing something and we can't agree, then we can vote. But voting for leadership, it's not supposed to happen. Leaders are born, they are not voted. Those who are voting should only be voting to run the administration of a particular stable institution which cannot be voted. So the MK party saying this is what the revolutionary government would do in 100 years. It would scrap the constitution and replace it with a parliamentary supremacy. It would scrap the constitutional supremacy and replace it with parliamentary supremacy, because black people are in majority, but the black people cannot lead because white people are leading through court. Let's continue. Let me just continue to share as we discuss.
A revolutionary government would do in 100 days in office. Indeed, the DA-led coalition's adherence to neoliberal constitution has locked South Africa into an economic system that benefits white monopoly capital at the expense of the majority. This constitution was designed to protect the wealth of those who control the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, commonly known as the JSE, and ensure the continued exploitation of our resources by foreign interest. The MK party would scrap this constitution and introduce an economic model that prioritizes the people. We would reclaim our economy from the grip of white monopoly capital and ensure that the wealth generated from our land and resources is reinvested in the development of our communities rather than following into the pockets of foreign shareholders. This is what a revolutionary government would do in 100 days. Under the DA-led coalition's constitution, education and technological development have been left to decay, with the elite and sending their children to private schools, while the masses suffer an underfunded system. Indeed, this constitution has protected the interests of those who already hold power, ensuring that human capital development remains the privilege of the few. MK would scrap this constitution and introduce policies that invest heavily in building our human capital and technological capabilities, ensuring that every South African has access to quality education and the skills needed to thrive in this modern world. This is what a responsible revolutionary government would deliver in 100 days. The DA-led coalition's adherence to constitutional sovereignty has allowed the continued control of urban spaces by a wealthy minority, while the majority remain confined to informal settlements. Indeed, this constitution has been a barrier to spatial justice, ensuring that the legacy of apartheid geography remains intact. MK would scrap the current constitution and prioritize parliamentary sovereignty, allowing us to reclaim urban and rural spaces for our people. We must embark on a radical program of land redistribution and spatial transformation, creating inclusive and equitable cities and towns that serve the South Africans, not just a few elite people. This is what a responsible government would deliver in 100 days. Indeed, the DA-led coalition's failure to reform the justice system has allowed corruption, crime, and violence to flourish. The Constitution has tied the hands of lawmakers, preventing them from enacting reforms that would protect the people. The MK party would restore parliamentary sovereignty and scrap the Constitution, allowing us to build a justice system that serves the people. We would reform law enforcement, tackle crimes as its roots, and ensure that every South African feels safe and secure in their community. Under the MK membership leadership, the safety and the security of the people would be paramount, and we would build a system that protects the many, not just a few. This is what a responsible revolutionary government would do in 100 days. The DA-led coalition's allegiance to constitutional sovereignty has undermined South Africa's sovereignty on the global stage. Indeed, the constitution has been used to justify the government's capitulation to foreign powers and their economic interests, allowing white foreigners to continue controlling our resources and wealth. MK would scrap this constitution and reclaim South Africa's sovereignty by ensuring that the country is governed in the interest of the people. It's governed in the interest of the people, not global elites. We would assert South Africa's position as a leader in Africa and the world, championing the cause of oppressed people everywhere and standing firm against neo-colonialism. This is what a responsible revolutionary government that would do in 100 days.
This is only for history's purpose. This is only for a purpose of history. There, this is only for a purpose of history. This is very poetic by Judge Hlope. The MK party is taking South Africa by storm. Whether the white system or the white people like it or not, the MK party is going to lead South Africa, and the MK party is going to scrap the constitution. He already mentioned 10 times in this speech, more than 10 times already in this speech, that the MK party would scrap the constitution in favor of parliamentary sovereignty. For every paragraph, when he finish every paragraph, he says the MK party would scrap the current constitution in favor of parliamentary supremacy, in favor of parliamentary sovereignty. At the moment, what assists Helen Zille to be able to control other political parties, it's because the parliament is not independent. Parliament is dependent on courts. Its decisions are not final. So parliament is just playing the people who are working at the courts. So what he's talking about here is saying in many ways saying the same thing, that the MK party would scrap the current constitution. So there's nobody who is going to be able to stop the MK party from taking over South Africa. Floyd Shivambu moved from the EFF to join the MK party. Yesterday, Advocate Busiswe Mkhwebane also announced she's moving from the EFF to she's going to join the MK party. She hasn't announced that she's going to join the MK party, but I'm putting my head on the block. She is going to join the MK party, and she is going to be sent to parliament. I can put my head on the block. She's going to be sent to parliament, and she will be sent to the JSC to go and replace Judge Hlophe. Fana Mokoena has also tendered his resignation to the EFF. I spoke about the problems in the EFF in my videos from last year. I actually mentioned in many ways or many times tried to alert people that the EFF was not the right vehicle to take people to liberate South Africa. The EFF cannot be able to unite South Africa. So if it fails to unite South Africa, how will it be able to unite Africa? Julius Malema is a sellout of white people. The EFF, it's a sellout organization. It represents white people. Van Eisen or Ramaphosa is not worried about Julius Malema because they identify them as strategic enemies. You know, the people that they identify as strategic enemies, sometimes they create strategic enemies. So the DA in EFF, they've just created a strategic enemy. It's not a real enemy, it's an enemy. A strategic enemy is the enemy that helps you to achieve your goal. So the EFF is a strategic enemy for the DA, because the EFF uh, helps the DA to achieve its goals by going and fooling black people, making them divided. Everybody is uniting in one house now. Everybody is uniting at the MK party, but Julius Malema is still holding on to his dear position in the EFF, while everything around him is just falling apart. He's still holding on to the EFF instead of allowing unity. And the reason for that is because his masters would not allow him to unite with the MK party and become one. Because if he does that, then he gives black people power. So that would be a serious problem for white people. So Julius Malema would not do that. We have seen people moving from the ANC to the MK party. We've seen people moving from the IFP to the MK party. Heavy people, I mean, people who are in higher positions in their organization, some who are earning like Busiswe Mkhwebane. We've seen people closing their organizations, their political organizations. Like you can help me on them on listing of the political organizations. I listed 6 political parties which were once existed and were dissolved into MK Party. Black First, Land First, led by its president was Andile Mkitama. It was dissolved into the MK Party. TTM, led by Abel Tau, dissolved into MK Party. Act of Ace Makashule dissolved into MK Party. Sarah of Colin Makovele dissolved into MK Party. TDC of Visven Reddy dissolved to join MK Party. Shiluba, led by Bongani Baloi, also dissolved to unite and join MK Party. But Julius Malema is not uniting to join MK Party and will not be able to do that because his handlers will not allow him to do so. Click the like button and subscribe. My name is Mngoni Mkonto. This is the Royal Opinion. Today we are talking about the response that the MK Party came, gun blazing. They came out gun blazing to respond to the celebration, which were even the ANC members some of the ANC members who attended the the celebration were showing some negative placards about President Ramaphosa and about the GNU. Lusufi was criticizing the DA. He said he removed, it did not even, he was even afraid to mention them by name because Fikile Mbalule was there to listen to him and to ensure that he must watch his language when he speak in front of Ramaphosa and in front of white people. So Panyaza Lesufi said in Swane, there was a mayor of those who think they were born and anointed to rule over us. And then we removed them, referring to his GNU friend, saying we removed them, but celebrating success of their unity. Celebrating success, like, it's so contrary. How can you celebrate success of your unity, but at the same time you talk about how you have removed them in Johannesburg municipality, how you have removed them in Ekurhuleni, and how you've removed them in Swane, but you're saying you are celebrating a united front with such people. The GNU is bound to collapse. They only survive on propaganda at the moment. The momentum that the MK party is building, it's like that one of a stone thrown from the top of a mountain. Nobody can stand and stop the stone from going down the mountain. It will just roll until it finds its place somewhere down the valley. Then it will stop. But nobody can stand on its way. MK Party, it's like a rock released from the top of the mountain. It cannot be stopped. You cannot stand on its way. It will happen. Liberation of black people. will happen, because obviously President Jacob Zuma, what he's done is amazing. Coming out at his age, uniting black people, young and old, uh, uh, Christians and traditionalists, those who are employed, those who are not employed, those who are educated, those who are not educated, uniting everybody, traditional healers, doctors, uniting everybody to form an organization which would be formidable, to be able to fight against the Queen of England, who owns us. Queen of England owns black people in South Africa. She owns the land. That's why the kings are not able to issue a title deed, because they don't own the land. The land is owned by the Queen. They can only give you a permission to occupy. They also don't have title deeds in their places where they stay. The kings and the queens of South Africa don't have title deeds in their places where they stay, unless if they go and buy through the bank, because the bank belongs to the Queen. Then the bank is allowed to administer the land, to sell the land on behalf of the Queen. But at some stage, the Queen will come and repossess a property. She actually just gave everybody permission to occupy. So let's go on and listen to Judge Klopp.
Indeed, the DA-led coalition has delayed the implementation of an efficient and effective healthcare system, hiding behind constitutional constraints that favor private healthcare over public services. The current constitution protects the rights of the wealthy to access world-class private healthcare while leaving the majority to suffer under the underfunded public system. MK would scrap the constitution and ensure the immediate implementation of a universal healthcare system that provides quality care to all South Africans. We would invest in public health infrastructure and ensure that South Africa's wealth is used to build a health system that serves everyone, not just the rich or the elite. This is what a revolutionary government would do in 100 days. South Africa is a wealthy country, yet the wealth remains concentrated in the hands of small elite due to protections enshrined in the current constitution. Indeed, the DA-led coalition has failed to ensure that South Africa's wealth is shared among its people, allowing white monopoly capital and foreign corporations to continue their exploitation of our land and resources. MK would scrap the constitution and return to parliamentary sovereignty, enabling us to reclaim the wealth of South Africa and ensure that it is shared among all South Africans. MK will guarantee that this wealth is used to eradicate poverty, create jobs, and build a prosperous future for all. This is what a revolutionary government delivers in 100 days in office. The MK party calls on all left-wing political organizations, grassroots movements, and trade unions to unite and build a broad front. The collaboration of leftist forces must transcend ideological divisions and become a powerful shield against neoliberalism embedded within the current DA-led coalition framework. Our fight must be centered on dismantling austerity policies, reclaiming public resources for the people, and advancing radical economic transformation. We call on all our Black brothers and sisters, workers, youth, and rural poor to mobilize actively and resist these reactionary forces. The struggle for economic emancipation is far from being over. The policy reversals we witness today, including the undermining of transformational policies such as the National Health Insurance, commonly known as NHI, are a stark reminder that the neoliberal project is designed to benefit a privileged minority at the expense of the masses. I end there.
Thank you, DP. We'll open up for questions, taking into consideration that we have to be in the National Assembly. So we'll start 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Lindsay Angela, Eyewitness News. Given that you're not able to scrap the Constitution at this point in time, what new bills or legislation will the MK Party be tabling anytime soon that will bring about some of the ideals that you have just outlined? Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shobe, Jesse Felix, News 24. You spoke extensively on the ANC and what we call the so-called GNU government or GNU. What has been the synopsis of your 100 days in Parliament? Then the second question I want to ask you is just a personal question to you, Dr. Shobe. The JSE matter, we've heard about the matter in court, in Western Cape High Court, but we've never heard personally from you as to how this matter affected you, and you've made arguments through your lawyers and your advocates to that effect. But what is your view being on this whole, if I can call it, court case against you? Thank you.
Yes, Student with us and Andy Berger, the next Berger. I just want to find out a little bit more after the interview of Advocate Sisiwe Mqwebane yesterday, in which she said that MK made various offers to her even before Chibabu joined you guys. Is there still an interest in Mqwebane? And maybe she joined already. Is there any update you can give us on that matter? Thank you.
Can I answer? No. DP? All right, thank you so much. I will deal with the first question that relates to our achievements as a political party. First of all, when we came here, we were nobody. We were just an MK. We had to fight for our position to be recognized as an official opposition in this country. The debates took place right in this very room. We had to get the rules of parliament amended to accommodate the fact that we are now in official opposition. All along, the Democratic Alliance, which is leading the coalition in government, wanted to sit in government when it suited them and be an opposition party when it suited them. We said no. If you are part of the GNU so-called, you cannot be an official opposition. It took quite a lot of debate and arguments. We were supported by our colleagues from the EFF. Eventually, we won the debate. As we sit here today, the MK party is an official opposition party in South Africa. That was, for us, a huge achievement. It doesn't end there. We have also decided to work with other progressive forces in parliament. There are parties here which are not part of the GNU, such as the EFF, the National Colored Convention, the ATM, and AUT. UAT, I beg your pardon, I call it AUT, and UAT. These are parties which are represented in the National Assembly, in Parliament, but they are not part of the DA-led coalition. So we had to get all those forces together. We are leading that opposition, put it this way, we are leading those progressive forces. We have achieved quite a bit. If you look at what we have done in Parliament, we have, in terms of questions that have been raised in Parliament and in terms of the statements that we have done, right? So obviously, we have had challenges, some changes have taken place, but on the whole, we believe we have gelled as a team, considering that we arrived here 2 weeks after other parties. So we believe we're at a stage where we can now focus on the business of the day in the National Assembly and in the NCOP. Those are some of our gains. You asked me a personal question about the JSC. Yes, the JSC, I consider myself a member of the JSC, right? The reason why I decided to withdraw from the JSC was strategic. The party has the right to be represented. MK party is an official opposition. So I've been gagged by this judiciary of Ramaphosa, meaning I cannot participate in the JSC. And then the party suffers because the party is not represented. There is no provision in the constitution for an alternate member. So the obvious thing for me to do was to withdraw so that the party would deploy somebody else, so that the party would deploy somebody else in the JSC until my problems are cleared. I'm talking about political problems because there is nothing legal. The constitution is very clear. I have a right to sit on the JSC. Here in Parliament, I sit on the Justice Portfolio Committee. One of the things that the Justice Portfolio Committee does is to recommend salary adjustment for judges. So I can recommend their salaries and fix their salaries, but I can't interview them, right? So it's a strange situation. I can tell you what I'm doing was done by Justice Harding in America.
So he's a member. He was a member of the JSC, but was not allowed to participate because the DA went to court um, to stop him from participating in the interviews. They did not want Judge Klope to participate in the interviews of the current appointments that they want to make, including the Judge President of the Western Cape, appointment of the Judge President of the Western Cape. They don't want Judge Klope to participate because Judge Klope is a genuine leader of Black people and he cannot be bought. So whatever is going to ventilate is just straightforward. He's going to ask real questions. He's not going to massage people. He's going to ask serious questions. He's not going to ask academic questions. He's going to ask questions about situations that affect people on the ground. And that's what they don't want people to do, or they don't want him to do, or the MK party to do. So the MK party being clear of the things that they're going to implement, listing some of their successes, becoming an official opposition in South Africa. In actual fact, the MK party has become the biggest political party in South Africa. If truth be told, the MK party has become the biggest political party in South Africa on the ground. You can even see by the interest of people on the political party. You will see when Ramaphosa is speaking, nobody is following, but when President Zuma is speaking, everybody is following because the MK party has become the biggest party, the biggest political party in South Africa. So it's basically a huge achievement. in 2026 local government elections, it's going to be difficult for the ANC and the DA. Because even robbing of the elections there, it will be very difficult because those are local elections. You don't take the votes to somewhere else. They are declared at the stations. The people come out celebrating there. So you can't take them anywhere else. In those local elections, that's where the true reflection of what the MK party and President Zuma has done, the massive work that President Zuma has done in South Africa. History shall absolve President Zuma. History shall remember him as an ancestor. Black people will remember him as an ancestor who came to deliver black people from slavery and colonialism. His ways of life and his systems in politics, his plans are going to be studied by the future. President Zuma, the amount of hate speech, I call it hate speech, the negative reporting on the official media, the bought out media, or the media that is owned by the white people, the propagandist. If we've got, maybe this is what the so-called academics or the professors should focus maybe on finding out how much hate speech videos were made about President Zuma. How many words were used, negative words were used against President Zuma on television? How many articles of insults on newspapers? How big is the library that can store the articles that were written negatively about President Zuma in South Africa? President Zuma is the most decampaigned man by media in the 21st century. The amount of hate speech that was delivered by the mainstream media about President Zuma is massive. Click the like button and subscribe. My name is Mngoni Mkonto. We're talking about the response of Judge Hlophe and the MK party on the GNU celebrating 100 days. The celebrations of 100 days in office, but you are not the people that you are celebrating the unity with are not invited. Even your own people in the ANC are raising placards against the GNU that you are celebrating. Like what a laughable, like propaganda can sustain people. Propaganda do sustain people. The MK party must take over the media. The MK party must know that without controlling media, you will not change the life of South Africans. South Africans are controlled by the mainstream media. They control what we eat, they control what entertains us, they control what we drink. They control everything about our lives. I want to thank everybody for joining our live stream. Thank you very much for being part of the live stream. We're going to end it here. Thank you very much. Before we close, the T-shirt, the Royal Opinion T-shirts are available for 220. If anybody if you are interested in the T-shirts, if you want to order, it's 220, excluding Korea. You can order to support the Royal Opinion. You can just WhatsApp me. My WhatsApp number is 071-627-0314. Send me a WhatsApp number. Say you want the Royal Opinion T-shirt in order to support our channel. Thank you very much for joining our live stream. More products will be coming. The Royal Opinion products will be coming.